Scott Holliday here, and welcome back to Plus 2 Wrestling. Scott Holliday here in a very different purple shirt. I'm off to Fan Expo Philadelphia, and right now it is thunderstorming outside, and there's a trash truck. So if the sound quality is bad, I apologize, but this is literally the only time I had to record this intro. I just wanted to let you know that this is a Director's Cut episode. What is a Director's Cut episode? Well, I'm not very good at YouTube, and sometimes I put up a video and it gets a copyright claim against it. This is not because I want to monetize the video. This isn't a monetized channel yet. I don't have the subscribers yet. This is basically resulting in a lot of people not being able to see the video. It gets blocked in multiple regions. So when that happens, I like to take the video, I like to spruce it up a bit, add some content, and re-upload it in its beautiful intended form in a director's cut. Now this was originally 2 videos. This is the best and the worst finishers video. So I've now spliced them back together the way that they were intended to be when I first created this video into one big long video for you to enjoy. So please enjoy this Director's Cut. There is a plugging section in the middle of it that is up to date. It's not old, so be sure you watch that as well so you can come see me live. And please enjoy my soapbox. So today on the Soapbox, I want to look at what I think every wrestler spends a lot of time thinking about, and that is their finishing maneuver. Now, I've said this before when it came to when I was ranking match stipulations, that I considered doing that type of video where I rank every single thing from worst to best, and I considered doing the ranking of every single finisher. But one, there's no way that I would do absolutely every finisher. And like I always say, no one cares about the middleest finisher. Nobody's gonna really care that I'm like, D'Lo Brown's lowdown is the middleest finisher. No, we want to just hear the 2 things, the best and the worst. So I'm gonna break down the best and worst finisher in professional wrestler. Now, in order to do this, we're gonna need some criteria. What makes a finisher a finisher, and what makes a good finisher a good finisher? Number 1, it's got to finish a match. And I know that that seems redundant, but there's a lot of finishers out there that either aren't actually the finish, they're a secondary finisher or a signature maneuver, or they have been so watered down because they're not protected, because so many people have kicked out of it that it just doesn't have that special quality to it anymore. So it's got to be something that finishes a match. 2, it needs to be something that you can do to everyone. This is like Wrestling 101, when you're getting to that point where you can finally start wrestling matches, which is beyond 101, but let's ignore that I said that part. The question when it comes to your finisher is it a thing that you can hit on everyone? Because I always played as a cruiserweight whenever I played the 2K games, but I always wanted my finisher to be a pile driver. And then I'd get in there and I'd fight like a Viscera or, a Bronson Reed, and I'd go to lift him up. Oh, my character's back would hurt. And that's true to life. There are tons of people who have really cool finishers that once they get in with someone that's a bit heavier than them or a bit taller than them, it becomes impossible to do. So for it to be a good finisher, it's got to be something that you can hit on anyone. 3, it's got to be cool. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's got to be something that's visually interesting. Like, personally, I thought Anthony Ogogo's liver punch was a great finish. It was unique. It was something that we don't see very often, and it's true to life. If you get hit in the liver, you pass out. It hurts, and your body can't handle it, and it just shuts down. Like, that's just how your body works. But visually, just watching someone get punched in the side is not great. So it's got to be something that looks really cool. And another thing going for Anthony Ogogo that makes me want to include it on this list, but I'm not, is number 4. It has to make sense for your character to do this move. It has to make sense with your moveset. It's always confusing, and I do this a lot, again, with my created characters in 2K, where I have a bunch of slams, and I'm just slamming somebody, and I'm dropping them on their head, but I decided that I wanted my finisher to be the ankle lock. And my opponent's got red arms and a red head and a red torso and just yellow legs, because I did not include anything to soften up that body part. A really good finisher should really make sense for that character. It should make sense that when this person does that move after the match that they wrestle, there's no kicking out. So that's what we're looking for. It's got to finish a match. It's got to be done to everyone. It's got to be cool. Don't forget that cool factory. And it's got to be something that makes sense with the moveset of the person performing it. So, how are we going to decide the best and worst finisher? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to break it down into different categories, the different types of finisher, and I'm going to tell you the best finisher and the worst finisher for every category. Let's go. The strike finisher. There's nothing I hate more than the strike finisher. I don't enjoy just someone getting hit as a finisher that much. I feel like most finishers you need to set up to. It shouldn't be a case where if your finisher is just a blow, why is it not just the first thing that you do? Like, Wade Barrett, why are you not coming out with your elbow pad already on red mode so you can just knock people out immediately? And there is no bigger sin than when it comes to the knockout finisher, the strike finisher, than the Big Show's WMD. I hate that he used this as a finisher. It breaks all the rules. 1, it's not very cool. It's not cool. It's just not. 2, it doesn't make sense for the Big Show to rely on a punch. The whole thing about the Big Show is that he's really, really big. He's 7 foot tall. You should have a finisher that has something to do with his height. The choke slam was the perfect finisher for the Big Show. And you might want to argue like, oh, other people do a choke slam. Undertaker does a choke slam and that's not his finisher. Yeah, the Big Show's taller than him. He's taller than everyone. He's the Big Show. So when he lifts you all the way up, it's gonna hurt more just because more gravity. To then replace that with, I'm gonna punch him with my big hand, is such a dumb choice. Yes, his hand is very big. I understand that. But why would he do any other move if he can just knock you out with one punch? If his finisher is the knockout punch, every Big Show match should be about a minute long. He should get in there, he should punch you, and then he should pin you. That's just how it should work. But you know what his moveset is? It's always a big chop. It's always, oh, I got you in the corner. Here it comes. If he were to then close his hand and punch him in the face, the match would be over. But instead, he's going to keep his hand open and slap him in the chest. The WMD is a terrible finisher, and I'm glad we're not seeing it anymore. I like the Big Show. I think the Big Show has put on some really great matches. He's got a lot of charisma. I don't know why he changed his finisher to Big Punch. Now, when it comes to the best strike, again, I'd like to throw some love to Anthony Ogogo. I'd also love to give some love to Crush and the Heart Punch. I think that's a visually interesting strike rather than I hit you real hard and knocked you out. It's I hit you in the heart. You're having palpitations now. Ooh, what a heel. But I understand that that's not going to be accepted. That's just my personal feelings. The obvious choice for best strike finish is Sweet Chin Music, because nobody tuned up the band like Shawn Michaels. But man, the super kick, in terms of credibility as a finisher, has really been destroyed. Like, I feel bad taking this award away from Shawn Michaels because of the actions of the Young Bucks and the Usos and Dolph Ziggler and Lance Storm and so many other people that throw super kicks, that I can't quite give it this award because it doesn't always finish matches. So what is the best striking finish? Well, I think one that makes a lot of sense for this category is the Claymore. The Claymore is a fantastic, impactful move that not a lot of other people do. And it involves a lot of athleticism. You know, you jump up and you connect with the heel of your boot. Like, you got to jump all the way up to the height of another human being. It's very visually interesting. It's very cool. The countdown was cool when he was a babyface. The thing is, there's not a lot in Drew McIntyre's arsenal that makes you think that a big kick to the face should be his finisher. Like, I enjoy his DDT way more. The Future Shock, I think that should be his finisher. Like, the way that he's using his very large body to drive your head into the mat, I think that's a more successful finisher for Drew McIntyre. So I think, believe it or not, when it comes to the best striking finish, I think I have to give it to the Brogue Kick. Sheamus's moveset is Big Bad Brawler. Like, a lot of his moves are just clubbing blows. He's just going a clubbering. Like, even White Noise, his big slam move, it's so awkward and unconventional that it doesn't look like he's doing a move. Like, there's a quality to it that he's just kind of picking you up and dropping you, and where you land is where you land. Because he's not about technique. He's a brawler. He's about just delivering punishment. And the idea that the Brogue Kick, which you do have to beat down your opponent because it's hard to hit with precision, because it's a jumping bicycle kick, that kind of gets away from the issue of, well, why doesn't he just hit it immediately? Because it's hard to hit immediately. And if he does hit it immediately, he wins the match, because he won at WrestleMania when he defeated Daniel Bryan, I always mess that up, in, 18 seconds with a Brogue Kick, because he was distracted. If he wasn't distracted, he wouldn't be able to hit that Brogue Kick right away, because you have to beat down your opponent a little bit so you can line that shot up. I think in terms of strike finishes, Sheamus is the only one really doing it right. So I'm giving the worst award to Big Show and the best award to Sheamus. Downed opponent. So this is a late ad for the script here, but I was looking at it and it was something I felt like we had to incorporate here as a category. This is an attack when your opponent is down on the mat in some way, whether it's laid out flat, seated up, hands and knees. And I included this because they're all terrible. Now, just so I'm really clarifying here, this is not something done off the top rope. This is simply your opponent is in a downed position. And most of them are really, really bad. The Warrior Splash is not that impressive, especially since it is usually followed by a very impressive move of the Gorilla Press Slam. Hogan's leg drop is atrocious as a finisher. Like, oh yeah, Hulk Hogan's, body slam and big boot really worked over his opponent's throat? It's not even his neck, it's his throat. So it's going to do a lot of damage when he jumps up into the air and hits you with the soft under part of his knee. That'll put him away. Absolutely terrible. Welcome to the Batcave. The Boston Booger very much almost ran away with this. That is a horrendous move. It is a less cool version than the Bronco Buster. For some reason, the Bronco Buster very cool when you're getting hit in the face with balls. Everybody really likes that move. But welcome to the Batcave. Horrible way to get hit with balls. Not very entertaining. I think he's only won one match with it, so that's real bad. But there's one more that I think really takes the cake when it comes to the worst ground opponent maneuver, and that is the Hyperdriver. Now, Mojo Rawley has two moves called the Hyperdriver. One is kind of like a fall-away gorilla press slam. That move's fine. Kind of like that. That's cool. The other is that he runs off the rope and just kind of hits you with his ass. Like, not even with the fun impact of, like, the rear view from Naomi. This is just, I'm running and then I'm jumping on you. And that can work if you're an earthquake, because you're a very big man and that's a lot of weight coming down. But Mojo Rawley wasn't much bigger than your average wrestler. And the idea of like, oh, Mojo hit me with his keister, that's going to put me away. Got to throw that one out. Now, when it comes to the best, there's not a lot of options here for best grounded opponent attack. There was part of me that wanted to give it to Randy Orton's punt, though that seems to be more of a super finisher. I can't really think of a time that he's won a match with it. I feel like it was mostly an after the match, I'm trying to really do damage type thing, which made me even question if it's a legal maneuver to just kick someone in the temple like that. So, as effective of a finisher it is, I'm not sure if it quite takes that top spot, because I want to give it to Will Ospreay's Hidden Blade. Now, you may make the argument that, his moveset doesn't really lead to a logical way to do a Hidden Blade and having that be like the final maneuver, but it really does. Will Ospreay's entire moveset is high-flying, high-impact maneuvers. He's coming off the top rope, he's doing flips and things like that. And then when his style needed to change, when he needed to become more of a villain, he came up with a way to take that high-flying moveset that he does and kind of ground it a little bit more and make it more impactful and more direct and precise rather than so flourishing. I think the Hidden Blade does a great job of taking the Will Ospreay moveset and putting it into a heel character. I know he's not a heel now, and I know he still does it, but the original intention of the Hidden Blade, I think, is great. On top of that, it looks incredible. Like, when you see that move, you're like, oh, he's just elbowing someone in the back of the head really, really hard. And he's doing it in such a way that there's no way for his opponent to really protect himself because it is a from-behind attack. I think all those layers to it really makes the Hidden Blade a special maneuver. Top rope. Okay, now let's get to the top rope. This is anything where you are flying through the air after ascending the turnbuckles. We'll take anything from the middle rope as well, but there's not a lot of great middle rope finishers. We got Matt Hardy's leg drop, and Brett likes to drop an elbow, but they're not really finishing maneuvers. And what I love about the flying maneuvers is that they kind of make sense no matter what. Like, you can make the argument that no one's moveset really makes sense with a splash. But you take away the argument of, if that's your finisher, why aren't you hitting it first? Because it's a high-risk maneuver. I have to guarantee that I'm able to hit this move before I even attempt it. Because if this misses, it could cost me the match. The logical story with every top rope finisher is very nice. I like it a lot. Makes me happy. The other rule when it comes to top rope is kind of a suspension of disbelief, but it is something that all wrestling fans just kind of accept, which is the cooler your move looks, the more it hurts. If you jump off the top rope and hit a splash, that's going to hurt. If you do a backflip first, well, that's going to hurt like 3 times more. That's Uniracer rules. Remember Uniracers? Is that reference for anybody? Uniracers? Remember, you do flips in the air and it makes you go faster. In any case, the top of the chain is easily the Black Arrow or the Red Arrow, depending on which company you're watching him in. But Pac's corkscrew backflip is a thing of beauty. I know that when I'm watching professional wrestling with friends, I make an announcement whenever Pac is about to hit a Black Arrow. And I always phrase it the same way, which is, guys, a beautiful thing is about to happen. To the point that for a while I thought the name of his move was The Beautiful Thing, just because that's what I call it. And I love that it's bulletproof. I've never seen anyone kick out of the Black Arrow. The only time it's ever been disrupted or anything like that was when he fought Seth Rollins. And I honestly thought for a moment that he was going to become Universal Champion. But when he hooked that leg, he pulled it just a little bit too far, causing a rope break. Great storytelling. Makes a lot of logical sense in the world of wrestling. Also, you can make the argument that if Pac really wants to hurt you, he flips you onto your belly first, hits the Black Arrow, and then locks in the Brutalizer. I think that the Black Arrow is a beautiful thing, and Pac uses it in a perfect way. And the fact that it's bulletproof and it always looks great easily cements it as the #1 finisher from the top rope. Now let's look at the other side of the coin. When it comes to the worst top rope finisher, it's kind of hard to have a bad one because you're flying through the air. It always looks cool. There was a part of me that wanted it to be the Ric Flair double axe handle, because anytime Ric Flair went to the top rope, he wasn't hitting anything. He was getting grabbed and being tossed down to his demise. That was just common in a Ric Flair match. But towards the end of his career, there was actually a match on Raw where he ascended to the top rope and Jerry Lawler actually said, "Rick, don't go up there. This never works for you." And for the first time, he countered being thrown off, hit a double axe handle, and won the match. So I was thinking about saying this is a finisher. It has finished the match 100% of the time that he's used it, but it gets countered too easily, and thus we got to get rid of that. But it seems wrong to do that to Ric Flair, even though the numbers line up. You can't disrespect Ric Flair like that. So then, that made me start thinking about Buff Bagwell. Buff Bagwell's finisher is the Blockbuster, which on paper makes a lot of sense. It is a flipping neck breaker. The idea of doing a neck breaker where you take your opponent's head and smash it against your own shoulder to snap their spine makes sense as a finisher. The idea of adding the centrifugal force of flying through the air, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The logic breaks down in that you're basically giving yourself a suplex. You're jumping in the air, turning upside down, and then you're hitting the canvas either flat, like you're getting a suplex, or on your tailbone, which should destroy your coccyx. So there is a bit of a dispute in the logic of Buff Bagwell's Blockbuster. In Buff Bagwell's Blockbuster. I'm keeping it in, I don't care. Because at the end of the day, there is one finisher that I hate more than anything, and I've already mentioned it in my worst of the year reviews, and that's the Annihilator. The Annihilator is from the middle rope, like I said, and while it is impactful, it is the idea of a lot of weight coming down on your chest. The way that Mojo Rawley's Hyperdriver doesn't make sense. I think it takes a lot away from Nia Jax. Nia Jax, I've actually started to really enjoy the stuff that she's doing as Queen of the Ring. And now her character is that she's regal and that she is a larger-than-life personality and that she can overpower because of the power of royalty. It's not that she's just really big. And I think the move like the Annihilator puts the emphasis on Nia Jax that she's larger than her opponents, rather than she's more powerful, more talented than her opponent. I hate the Annihilator, and it always looks unsafe, which I guess you could argue is good for it because it's a believable maneuver, but it's believable in a way that I don't enjoy, that it makes me always worry rather than, buy into the story. It takes me out of the story. And I just think you can do something so much better with Nia Jax. So, Black Arrow, best. Annihilator, worst. Driver. What is a driver? A driver is going to be any move where you are driving your opponent's head into the mat. That is how we are establishing that category. So your DDTs and, of course, your pile drivers are in the driver category. And since it says driver right there in the name, you think you want to pick a pile driver. And Jerry Lawler has the best pile driver. There's just something about the way that he pendulums back that makes the pile driver look so devastating. It's the move that broke Andy Kaufman's neck. But there's a much cooler driver nowadays, and that is, of course, the Canadian Destroyer. Petey Williams created a flipping pile driver that just looks incredible. So incredible that you'll see about 9 or 10 of them in every single indie show. Every indie show I see, there are several Canadian Destroyers. They'll get into it a little bit differently, like it will be off the top rope or from a waist lock and floating over. But what made it special is slowly being chipped away. This is the same fate that fell the DDT. Jake the Snake's DDT was a devastating maneuver. He was just falling backwards, causing all of your weight to fall onto your neck. And then they got the inverted Canadian, or the inverted DDT, like the slop drop or the Stinger's death drop or the Scorpion death lock, excuse me. It's just going to mess up a lot today. And then we saw the Tornado DDTs to the point that the Velocities, which is an Australian tag team, does a shooting star DDT.
Is on their side. Parries to Silver. Shooting star DDT.
It's incredible. But the DDT alone as a finisher got watered down as more and more innovation happened. Same thing with the Canadian Destroyer. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Innovation in, evolution in wrestling is a needed thing. But one thing I will say is I see a lot of Canadian Destroyers, and I go, oh, Canadian Destroyer. I also see a lot of RKOs. But when I see someone else do it, I always call it an ace crusher. Other people will call it a cutter, and those people are wrong. I will always say an ace crusher, and I will never say, ooh, an RKO by randomity talent, because an RKO is only done by Randy Orton. There's something special about the way Randy does it, whether he's coiled up like a viper and striking, or if it comes from out of nowhere. And that was where my script ended on Driver. But then I remembered one more. There is one more driving finisher that has been protected so much and is always very exciting and fascinating to see. I have to give the best driver finisher to the One-Winged Angel. It is a very unique move that has been mastered by Kenny Omega that no one has ever kicked out of. Except for Kenny Omega, but that's because it was performed by someone that wasn't the master of the One-Winged Angel. The fact that it's protected and is so unique and is so fascinating to watch and look so devastating, you gotta give it to the One-Winged Angel. Now when it comes to the worst driver, let's be real, you're not gonna like this, but it really should be the Crossroads. The Crossroads should 100% be the worst driver finisher. Because Cody needs to hit it 3 times for it to work. And on top of that, how many times has Cody set up the Crossroads, hit it twice, and then gone for a third, and their opponent has miraculously broken out of it? I mean, it took 9 to put Roman away? If it's a finishing maneuver, it should finish the match. And the fact that I can take 2 and then function, let alone come back to win the match, shows that this is a weak finisher. And it's never been like a real popular finisher. Like when Reno used it in WCW and it was the roll of the dice. Damian Priest was actually using a version of the Crossroads before Cody came back when he was in NXT. There's just something about it that comes off as weak. And I know it's the champion's finisher right now. So I'm not going to give it to Cody. But I'm just saying it should be. It's got to be really bad for it to be worse than the Crossroads. And the first one that comes to mind is something called the Overdrive. The Overdrive is a finisher where you put your leg over your opponent's head and then you kind of fall forward and drive their head to the mat, but really the back of your knee. This seems to be the finisher you get when you don't have a finisher. They just seem to slap this on a lot of people. They slapped it on to MVP for a bit and called it the Playmaker. Right now, Bayley's doing a version of it right now. It's called the Rose Plant. It's basically a really bad Famouser. Famouser makes sense. You jump up and do a better version of Hulk Hogan's leg drop because you're putting all your weight on the back of your opponent and driving their head into the mat. But the Overdrive, it never makes sense whenever I see it. It never looks good. And if a move is going to be that confusing, it's got to be the worst driver. And then I saw the Saxonation. Byron Saxton used to be a wrestler. Byron Saxton's contributions to the world of commentary is almost unparalleled. Like, no one plays that kind of like, oh shucks, kind of punching bag commentator quite as well as Byron Saxton. He's good on commentary, he's good backstage, he is great outside of the ring. In the ring, his contribution is whatever the Saxonation is. A move that I've seen many times, and I can't tell you really what it is. I couldn't attempt to perform such a maneuver. I'm not sure how I would take such a maneuver. It's just a very confusing move. And there's really no contest. It has to be the Saxonation here. This very weekend, May 16th, 17th, and 18th at the Philadelphia Convention Center, it is Fan Expo Philadelphia, and there you can see a whole buttload of shows from Labor of Love. Just head to room 122AB. It's usually split up into two rooms, A and B, but they tore down the wall, so it's one big room now. And we'll be there basically the whole time. But if you want to catch wrestling shows, on Friday it's at 5 p.m. On Saturday it is at 1 p.m., a training session with Catch Point at 3 p.m. and another show at 4 p.m. And then on Sunday, join us at 1 p.m. and at 3 p.m. You're not going to want to miss this. It is free with your admission to the con, so we'll see you at Fan Expo. Saturday, May 24th at 7 p.m., join us at ACX1 Studios in Atlantic City, New Jersey for Combat Zone Wrestling's Ante Up, where you will see all your favorite CZW wrestlers, including Nick effin' Gage, Ricky Shane Page, Slack, and I can announce a four-way to crown new number one contenders for Post-Game's Tag Team Championship. Will it be the Lost Boys, Mob Hill, former champions Milk Chocolate, or a new team coming to us from overseas, The Rivalry? The only way to find out is to join us in Atlantic City. You can get your tickets right now at czwrestling.com. And then the very next day, Power Pro Lucha presents A Link to the Past. That is Sunday, May 25th at the Arlen Specter U.S. Squash Center, located at 25 North 33rd Street in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. In our main event, you will see the Spectral Envoy battle Weber Hatfield, the world-famous Cheeseburger, and Hot Sauce Tracy Williams. Also in four-way action, it will be Common MK battling King Crab, battling Jet Jagori, battling the debuting in Power Pro Lucha, Ali. This is going to be a super fun show, and the first show from Power Pro Lucha sold out, so do not wait to get your tickets. You can get your tickets now at powerprolucha.com. Submission. So when it comes to the best submission move, it's very important that your moveset leads up to the submission. I've made this comparison already, but when you're designing your own character in 2K, it's very important that you have a lot of moves that attacks the limb that your finishing maneuver targets. So it's very important that you have the correct moveset. You can't just slap any submission finisher onto any wrestler. And there's part of me that wanted to give this to Alberto Del Rio. Alberto Del Rio's cross arm breaker, which is just an arm bar, that's really all it is so simple. But he always got into it with a nice flurry, like the way that his body twisted. He kind of did like a flying arm bar, and all of his moves attacked the arm. Like he did kind of a version of the backstabber where he was bringing your arm into his knees. Really good. Liked all that stuff. But he's a horrible person, and I don't want to give him any credibility or any flowers, so it's not going to be the cross arm breaker. I think the absolute best finisher is the sharpshooter. Not the Scorpion Deathlock, Bret Hart's sharpshooter. The excellence of execution. Think about all of Bret's moves. It's a lot of working the lower back. It's a lot of back breakers. It's the Russian leg sweep. All these maneuvers that really hurt that one area of your back. And then he locks you in to a move that bends your back in half. It is an effective move that he has perfected. It's a move that for some reason everyone tried to apply to Bret Hart, and Bret Hart would know not only how to escape, but escape into another sharpshooter, which is very impressive. It is a move that other people have tried to steal, but always looks terrible. If you ever see The Rock lock in a sharpshooter, it's sad. It's just a sad thing. There's also a bit of intelligence here in that he has a free arm when he locks in the sharpshooter, because he locks both feet under one armpit. That kind of gives him a chance to protect himself. I love all the thought that went into the sharpshooter. And he's a hitman, and it's a sharpshooter. There's lots of layers here. It's great. Bret Hart's sharpshooter is unparalleled. Now, when it comes to the worst, I need you guys to be real cool when I say this, okay? Don't freak out. You're going to want to write something in the comments. Hold off. The worst submission finisher is the figure 4 leg lock. Wait. Let me explain. The figure 4 leg lock has been passed on to lots of wrestlers. It's been the Miz's finisher. It's been the original Nature Boy Buddy Rogers finisher, but it's mostly associated with Ric Flair. Ric Flair didn't really do a lot of moves that targeted the leg, unless he was actually setting up for the figure 4. He would, kind of kick your knee. And that's the problem. A lot of people will tell you that the figure 4 is actually a very painful move. If you've ever been on the playground and locked your friend in the figure 4, it hurts a lot. But in the world of wrestling, they always tell the story of targeting the knee. That's going to soften him up for the figure 4 leg lock. It hurts your shin. And the shin is a harder place to really target because it's a bone. The idea of ripping apart a joint when there's lots of ligaments and things in there in the knee makes a lot more sense than he's just trying to break his leg. He's just attacking a bone. So a lot of commentators say that they're attacking the knee when they should be saying the shin. Also, someone is locked in the figure 4 leg lock. What is the commentator saying? You've probably seen it and heard it 100 times. What does the commentator say? Oh, he's got to get off his back. He's got to roll over, which will reverse the pressure. Every person knows how to counter the figure 4. And it's not even an escape. It's not like, oh, this is a great way, you pop your hips and then lets you slide out. No, it goes from a finishing maneuver that will end the match to you being in peril. You should not try to apply this hold. It is not logical to apply a figure 4 leg lock if everyone knows how to counter and hurt you and punish you for using it. That's why I actually really like the figure 8. Because the bridge prevents your opponent from being able to roll over. You're taking away all the leverage, you're applying more pressure. It makes a lot of sense. I loved when Bret Hart, to talk more good things about Bret Hart, would do it wrapped around the ring post because you're adding more torque and leverage. On top of that, you can't roll over because there's a ring post in the way. But everyone knows how to counter the figure 4. And the fact that we all know that story really means it should be retired. So I'm going to say the worst finisher is the figure 4 leg lock. Power. There's something I want to do to kind of delineate between different moves here, and we are going to use World of Sports rules, okay? Anything where you do not go to the ground with your opponent, we are going to call power. I'm bringing this up because under World of Sports rules, if I were to let gravity take over, like I do a classic body slam or a hip toss, and I don't go to the mat with you, I cannot continue to attack you until you stand up again. That is World of Sports rules. If I go to the ground with you, like I hit a vertical suplex or a German suplex, those are going to allow me to continue. Like I can hit a vertical suplex and transition into a guillotine. So anytime where I go to the ground with you, we're going to call that a suplex. And anytime where I wouldn't go to the ground with you, we're going to call that a power move. Just to have a little bit of difference of what these moves are. So what is the greatest power move? Now the two that should jump to your head immediately are the attitude adjustment and the F5. Both of those competitors, John Cena and Brock Lesnar, have shown that they can hit it on anyone. They've hit them on the Big Show. It's always an impressive feat of strength when they get them all the way up on their shoulders and then toss their body through the air. It is not considered a suplex because when Brock lets you go, while he does go to the mat with you, he does not maintain control of your body and let you go freely. So he would have to allow you to stand up before continuing to attack. The moveset of both men don't really build that much towards their finishers. Like, I don't think that the 5-knuckle shuffle really adds much to soften them up for the attitude adjustment. The German suplex, you could say, does, but they're landing on their face rather than on their back. So they both kind of lose points there. So how do I decide which one is the best? Simple. I throw them both away. Because despite how impressive they are and how they look like a car crash when Brock twists you through the air, it's very rare that someone beats you with just one. Brock had to hit like 5, 8 maybe to beat Roman Reigns. It's very common that you'll see a bunch of F5s in a Brock Lesnar match. Almost every John Cena match, someone kicks out of the attitude adjustment. Yeah, the Fireman's Carry Plus does not have the impact it used to. AJ Styles kicked out of the Avalanche. Like, that's insane. They're coming off the second rope. Both of those moves, I think, are no longer viable as the best finisher because so many people kick out of them. So, what's the best power move? I think the obvious place to go for a power move is a power bomb. And there's a lot of great power bombs. Batista doing the Batista bomb where he rolls backwards after, really good. I miss Kane's fall forward power bomb. I think that was a really good power bomb. But I think if I have to pick the best power bomb, I'm going to go with Diesel/Kevin Nash's Jackknife Powerbomb. There's something about the way that he brings you up and then lets you fall that makes it really feel like he doesn't give a crap about your body. There's something about the way you twist, and it's never a full, like you're never sitting on his shoulders. Like there's never a Rey Mysterio counter. It's always like off to the side, and there's something about the haphazardness of it that I think makes it look really effective. So in terms of my favorite power move, I'm going to go with the Jackknife Powerbomb. In terms of the worst, I don't really have a good argument for this one. I think that there's a lot of moves where you lift someone up and you drop them, and it's not being driven into the mat. They're not drivers. And usually when you can get someone up really high, it looks cool. You could make an argument that the world's strongest slam's not that cool because you're not going that high, but it's also a lot of weight coming down on you. I can get behind that. So I think I'm going to have to go with just my personal opinion because for some reason, despite the power involved, this one has never looked good. And that's Wasteland. If you don't know Wasteland, this is Wade Barrett's old finisher before he used the bullhammer. Like, this finisher was so bad that he changed it to turning his elbow pad red. That was an improvement for him. And it's basically, can't believe I'm saying this, a worse version of the hype driver that Mojo Rawley does. He brings you up in the fireman's carry, kind of like he's about to hit you with an attitude adjustment, and then kind of just takes a bow and lets you fall over. It just doesn't seem like an effective maneuver. It's kind of a reverse Samoan drop, but instead of falling backwards and adding your own weight to their chest as they hit the mat, you just kind of let them tumble. It just always looks sloppy to me. I know this isn't my best argument, but I really hate Wasteland. Suplex. I already explained the whole power move versus suplex thing, so I won't spend a lot of time on it. The best suplex you would think is obvious. I'm going to upset you guys with this one as well. The obvious choice is, of course, the Perfect Plex, Mr. Perfect's Fisherman Suplex. It is an effective maneuver that finished a lot of matches. I don't think I've ever really remember someone kicking out of the Perfect Plex. People have kicked out of Fisherman Suplexes, but when Mr. Perfect hit that picture perfect bridge and held on to that leg, the match was over. He was perfect and executed it perfectly. But you take all those things. What makes the Perfect Plex good? You know, you've got to beat down your opponent to get to a point where you can perform something with perfection that no one else can do as well as you, and it leads to a pinning predicament almost immediately. I can apply all those things to another move. And that is the Styles Clash. Now, I know I made the argument that that's not really his finisher anymore. It tends to be the phenomenal forearm. And you might think, oh, that's a driver. If it's a driver, he's done it wrong, and we're worried about the health of Steven Richards. It's more of a suplex. Think about it. You're lifting them upside down, kind of like you would for a vertical suplex, but then you're just lowering them, and then you're falling forward. And then you can roll easily into a pinning situation. And not only a pinning situation, but a really effective one where you're stacked up on your shoulders and you can apply all that weight. And I've seen AJ Styles hit that on pretty much everyone. I have to give this one to the Styles Clash, based on lots and lots of technicalities. When it comes to bad suplexes, there's not a lot of bad suplexes out there. The teardrop suplex comes to mind, which was a side suplex that Shawn Michaels used to do. It was his finisher before he committed to Sweet Chin Music as his finisher. Wasn't great. Wasn't as good as a kick to the head, so they switched things up and didn't make the teardrop suplex the finisher anymore. But I think there's one that really stands up to me, and I think out of all of them, this is the only finisher that I can ever think of that's bad on purpose. Yes, this person won a lot of matches with it, but it kind of came with a built-in story that this person would eventually need to grow up and grow out of this move. And that's the Bailey to Belly. The Bailey to Belly is just a belly-to-belly suplex, and not even an exploding one. It's just a basic wrestling takedown. But Bailey liked hugs. And Bayley was so excited to be in the ring with anyone that she just wanted to hug people, and getting to hug every opponent before finishing them off made a lot of sense. But it's a very immature gimmick. And I love Bayley. I think Bayley's arc is one of the best in professional wrestling, especially in the women's division. Bayley's arc cannot be touched right now. She started off as a super fan, and then she got hurt by not being able to release that darkness that was in her, and she was too nice, and then she had to kill her Bayley buddies, and then she went on a path of redemption after she turned her back on everybody. They did a great job with Bayley. And the fact that this move is bad and basic plays into her character and should be removed. So I'm giving this to the Bayley to Belly with the asterisk of I love how bad this move is, because it helps with the story arc that Bayley needed to develop more as a wrestler. See, it's not all negative here. Tag team. This is a very special category. This is two people taking out one person, a cooperative finishing maneuver. I couldn't find a good tag team finisher that wiped out the entire team. I couldn't find a good finisher where it lays out both of their opponents. If you have an example of that one, please let me know, because the best I could come up with was the Reps Champagne Toast. But when it comes to tag team finishers, there are really three that I think are above all else. Not to take anything away from things like the Heart Attack or the Midnight Hour, these three I think are untouchable. And those are the Devastation or the Doomsday Device by the Legion of Doom, the 3D, the Dudley Death Drop, and the Shatter Machine. Those three moves are just so silky smooth and look so impactful, and it makes sense that no one would ever kick out of them. So how do I choose between those three? I kind of want to get rid of the Legion of Doom, just because there was two ways to take it. When it came to the Doomsday Device, there was either the safe version, where he would come flying off. I think Hawk did the flying. Hawk would fly off, and Animal would fall back into an electric chair drop. Or Hawk would just take your head off, and you'd flip upside down and almost die. And because it can't be done safely, I think maybe we take some points away from the LOD. Granted, I don't want to be on the bad side of the LOD. They are a legend. The Road Warrior Pop is a thing of legend. But man, the Shatter Machine and the 3D. The 3D was such a beautiful, simple maneuver. The fact that it could be set up and then also could come out of nowhere. The fact that you could do it easily through a table. It's so spectacular. It's a mix of, some people call this a fly swatter, where Devon picks you up and Bubba hits an ace crusher. It is a beautiful move, but I really think it's been destroyed by the Usos. I love the Usos. I think the Usos, one of the best tag teams of all time, up there with LOD and the Dudleys and FTR. They didn't need to do the 3D. They call it the 1D now. One and done. And I could understand if they were doing it to kind of get our goat. If they were doing it like, look, we stole something from the Dudley Boys. We took something from a team you love and made it ours. Aren't we heels? I think that could have worked. It should have led to a program with the Dudleys, which is what I thought was happening when the first time I saw them do the 1D. But other than that, the Usos already do so much. And I feel like they could have really taken the time to come up with something new and something innovative to really cement them as like the tag team royalty that they are, is if they came up with a different move. Just something a little bit different. Turn the guy the other way. Hit a side suplex into a neck breaker instead. Something like that. Something simple, a little tweak to make it their own, instead of just taking the 3D and removing 2Ds. So that leaves me with the Shatter Machine. The Shatter Machine pops me every time I see it. There's just something about the way that it's done that makes me jump out of my seat. And I would not give it to the Shatter Machine if they were still calling it the Big Rig in AEW. There's something about the way it sounds when a commentator yells it. Shatter Machine! That just feels right. You know, a poet once said that, detached from meaning, there are no two more beautiful words than cellar door. I believe that about Shatter Machine. It can be done at any time, it looks devastating, and man, FTR is great. I give it to Shatter Machine. But now we gotta look at the other side. What is the worst tag team finisher? There's been some bad ones. I mean, Head Cheese was doing that weird cut the cheese. That was good. I mean, I kind of liked that one, but not super spectacular. I never understood the ones where it's just two people hold you up, and then you kind of do a thing. Like the Magic Killer, I never really got. Like, I feel like they would be more effective if it was just one person doing that move. I think the Boot of Doom is a far better finisher for the club. But I looked back at the script, and I was really racking my brain. I have to give this to the Street Profits for their super blockbuster. Because Angelo Dawkins is holding someone in the electric chair position, like they're going for a doomsday device, which is one of the most devastating tag team moves of all time. Just hitting a clothesline from there is devastating. But instead, Montez Ford jumps into the air and does a blockbuster, that flipping neck breaker. All he's doing is giving himself a superplex. And the thing about the superplex that I enjoy about the superplex is when someone hits it, someone performs it, they sell it as well, because they've fallen off the top rope at this point. That should hurt. I hate that Seth Rollins follows that up with a Falcon Arrow, because then he doesn't sell the superplex. Montez Ford is so high in the air, and it's just landing on his back. This move should destroy Montez Ford. But it never does. So for the lack of logic and the fact that the Street Profits have so many better moves, just from the heavens look so beautiful, I just don't want to see them perform this move anymore. Breaker. This is another late addition to the script. What is a breaker move? A breaker move is any maneuver that attacks your opponent's various body parts using your own body as a weapon. You know, things like the code breaker or a neck breaker, where you break their neck across your own shoulder. Anytime where the damage being done is not being delivered by the canvas or the turnbuckle, but rather your own body, we are going to call that a breaker. And the absolute best finishing maneuver that is a breaker move is, of course, the backbreaker by Bane. Bane nearly ended the career of Batman in Nightfall when he delivered a single backbreak. What? What do you mean he's not a wrestler? He wears a lucha mask. I think he counts. He showed up in Cosplay Pro Wrestling. Alright, fine. I added this category for really one reason. Is that one of the greatest finishers of all time really didn't fit into any of the other categories we were talking about. And that is, of course, the stunner. The stone cold stunner of using your shoulder to break the jaw or the vocal cords, according to Stone Cold in Regis and Kathy Lee interview. This is just a fantastic maneuver that always gets a big pop out of everyone in the crowd, and it does kind of break the rules that not every Stone Cold Steve Austin move really leads up to the stunner, other than the boot to the stomach. Stone Cold could hit that at any moment, and often did to open his match. And the question with finishers is, why don't you just do it first? Stone Cold's answer is, good point. I'll just do it right away and knock you out. Maybe I'll give you a beer first. That's the first part of the offense. The second is the kick. And the third is the stunner. And the stunner has been used to great effect by other people as well. It was Mikey Whipwreck's Whippersnapper. It's now being used by Kevin Owens. There's the springboard stunner from John Cena. And of course, Disco Inferno's Last Dance. Did you know Disco Inferno had a finisher? It was the Last Dance, and it was just a stunner. Now, when it comes to the worst breaker finisher, there's not a lot, in my opinion. So I'm going to have to go with a move that I actually like a lot. I'd like to see this used a lot more, but I don't think it functions very well as a finisher. And that's the shoulder breaker. That's basically when you get your opponent up in like a power slam position, and then you drop to one knee and drive your knee into your opponent's shoulder. I don't like this as a finisher for a few reasons. One, you have them up in a power slam position. It seems like it would be more effective to just hit a power slam where you then end in a pinning predicament, or a pile driver, which is a much more devastating move, rather than targeting the shoulder. I don't really understand the idea of, you've injured my shoulder, I can't kick out. You've only injured one, you could always kick out with the other. It just, there's some logic behind it, but I think overall it's confusing and puts a lot more on commentary to have to explain, oh, his shoulder's injured, he couldn't put weight on it to bring his opposite shoulder up, and the hand being on the shoulder makes it hard to kick out. I think it's a bit too much to discuss. I think it's a great maneuver. I think if you have an arm-based finisher, if you're doing like Ronda Rousey's cross arm breaker, which is just an arm bar, or a Kimura or something like that as your finisher, adding a shoulder breaker to your moveset, I think is a great idea. I just don't think as a standalone finisher, it's ever going to be that effective in the minds of the fans. Present Scott here. Thank you so much for watching this edition of Plus 2 Wrestling. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? Leave that in the comments down below. And while you're down there, you can subscribe so you'll get a notification when another one of these videos pop up. And if you're new to the channel, some of my favorite videos are popping up on screen right now. Check them out. I'm sure you will enjoy them. Thank you so much for joining me for this director's cut, and I hope you have a great day. I'm going to go to Fan Expo.